Oh, I just got a message that whatever reason.
What expired?
I thought it was supposed to, the link was good until the 26th.
Yeah, I just clicked on it and it said.
You can watch it on the YouTube thing, hopefully.
Yeah, we were just testing
Okay,
out
yeah.
embedding it.
What are
in
those
the-
things?
Those are liquor license, so you can.
Okay. Well, you know, these are to look at later, yeah.
Right, but Tim can take that. There,
Yeah.
and then you, so shall we begin, or?
Sure.
Okay, good evening, I call this meeting to order. Select Board meeting on March 19th, and we are live streaming.
Sorry.
Please bear with us.
Jeez Louise, that is loud. So this is Sabina that we're calling right now.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 9739808.
Oh, gee.
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang
Oh,
up
dear.
or press 1.
Well, we can try again. We can do a little business and then try.
Right,
Okay, so
yeah.
back to the agenda we have in front of us. Under the meetings always begin with public to be heard, and as Todd ordered, I think it posted on Front Porch Forum. If you have any comments to make, given this new format, please forward those either to Todd or directly to any of the Select Board members. Todd, we don't have anything to be read into the record or anything at this point?
Nope, I didn't receive anything.
Okay, so given that, we will move from public to be heard onto the
Well,
business at
you wanna-
hand.
You want to say something about, you know, appreciate the public, you know, dealing with this new format and everything, yeah.
Yeah, we are working out this format right in front of you, and we expect we may need to use it for the short foreseeable future, so please bear with us. But we want your input and ask you to make your comments known either to Todd, Tim, Catherine, or me, and we will try to deal with it in public session when those are received.
I also want to comment on all the people that have posted on Front Porch Forum to help their neighbors and everything else. I mean, it shows what a great community we do live in. Because, you know, putting out, you know, Google, you know, calendar for people to help and everything else is pretty amazing that people have stepped up the way they have.
And it has been noticeable in my walks around Jericho Corners that there are more people, social distancing still intact, but there are more people walking around and kids walking around, and that's an interesting twist of events to see that. So please send us your comments and we will do our best to address them. The first order of business has to do with interviews for the Planning Commission, and we are trying to get a hold of Sabina Ernst, and we will continue to do that.
Hello.
There she is.
Yeah, excellent.
Hi, Sabina.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thanks.
So the order of business we have in front of you is your interest in joining the Planning Commission. And we're glad for your interest. Maybe we could start out by you telling us a little bit about any of your background or experience that you think might be helpful in that endeavor.
Right. Well, I guess on a local level, since I'm already on the Conservation Commission, I am doing that work in terms of just being on a town committee and working under the select board and understanding the process and everything that goes with that. And then in terms of my life experiences, I am a veterinarian, so I have experience just as a community leader and as a scientist and somebody who, understands how to interpret data and how to sort of take information and, find the valuable information within that. So I think even though maybe it doesn't directly translate, I think there's a lot of things that I know how to do because of my work that do translate, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, will you continue to stay on the Conservation Commission as well?
Yes, I would like to do both.
Because I think that's a great idea to have cross-pollination between the two committees, because one has the ideas and the other one has to create the zoning and planning to support the natural resources in the community.
Yeah, I think it would be, definitely worth having, somebody of a conservation mindset to be on the Planning Commission. Not that, I know there are others who are already on there who do, but I feel like I could serve both committees well, and like you said, do some cross-pollination.
Anything?
Nope.
Have you had a chance to look at the town plan, or have you had an opportunity to attend any of the Planning Commission meetings or see them on cable?
I have attended meetings. I don't know. I've been to more than, I would say I've been to more than 10 meetings over the past year or so. A lot of times I went when there were issues, sort of relating to conservation. Other times I went, just because there were things that I was interested in, like the commercial district and how that was all being communicated to the public. So I've gone in both contexts just as an interested citizen and also, in the scope of my work on the Conservation Commission, so I could get more information directly that way. I have read the town plan. We worked on revising the sections that had to do with natural resources in this last sort of mini upgrade. So I definitely read through the parts that were relating to the Conservation Commission's work. And in the process of that, I also looked through other sections as well.
Well, if you've done that, then you get a special sticker, because that's can be a pretty dry reading. We appreciate that.
It's not the most enlightened reading, that's for sure. But it is interesting to see, what the mindset of the town plan is, and what the expectations are and what the goals are going forward. So, I see it as a really, just really a key document in terms of laying out the foundation for how all the other committees in town get to do their work. So I think it's really critical that we get it right.
So thank you for your interest. Do you have any questions of us?
I don't have any specific questions, as long as, there's no problem with me serving on both, which I know, I think there are other people who are serving on more than one committee, so I figured precedent was there. So yeah, no, I don't have any others unless you have something else you want to ask me.
No, we just got a nice letter from the planning commission that they support your application, which is we like to look, we always look at for, as well to make sure that they're on board with people who are, the fact that you've interviewed and got unanimous support is a good first, is a good step.
To the question you had in the back of your mind, which is whether there were any rules against people serving on two boards, the answer is generally no, but there is one case which we have frowned upon and actually forbidden people to be involved, and that is the Planning Commission and the DRB. So we have in the past.
Tim, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, sorry. I would say the question that was in the back of your mind, which you asked, it was whether there were some rules against serving on two different committees. And generally there are not, except for one case, and that is Planning Commission and DRB. We have frowned on that in the
Okay,
past.
yeah, I could see that being a conflict of interest.
So that's the only one that I'm aware of.
Right, okay.
So,
I will, I will not plan to join the DRB anytime soon.
yeah, that precludes you from joining the DRB if you're going to join that, so that's okay. So thank you for your interest. We will be taking the deliberations at the end of this meeting, and we'll let you know about the decision. We certainly are very pleased with your interest and your service to Jericho, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And you well, everyone.
Yes, stay
Have a good
socially
night.
distanced.
Bye now.
All right, bye.
Okay, so we're going to put action on that at the end of the meeting then?
Yes.
So
And I don't really think we need an executive session either.
okay, approve structures grant application?
Yes, so the engineering has been completed for the bridge below the highway department, our so-called worst bridge in town. And fortunately, they found that the deck is in fairly good shape, so it's not a total disaster. Their estimate, including alternatives, which is upgrading the guardrails and a few other non-necessary things, is $240,000 to round up. The structures grant is $175,000 for construction, so that's certainly a
That's
big chunk of
good.
it. And so I'm just looking for your approval. There's some documents for you to sign to apply for that grant. Ideally, this would have been out to bid already, but so it could have been done this season. But I really couldn't get a straight answer from the state about our chances. My thought was to apply, to put the project out to bid and say it would only occur if we got the grant.
Mm-hmm.
But their new staffing wasn't willing to give me any sort of indication of whether or not this grant would be funded, so it's likely it'll have to be done
Next year.
next season, which isn't ideal because costs will probably go up, but, you know, it is what it is, so.
Well, and on the other hand, if people might be, the bids might be lower because people will be looking for activity. We don't know.
I have no idea.
I suppose you can't fault somebody from the department for doing things precisely by the book, I
Right,
suppose.
absolutely.
Okay,
So do we have a motion to approve the, this is what you're looking for?
yeah, structures grant in the amount, and the request amount of $175,000.
I so move.
You move?
I'll-
Okay, I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda, approve signature of authority letter for emergency watershed protection projects.
Right, so this is the money to help fund the repair of the bank stabilization at the old mill. Private entities cannot apply for this directly. They need a local sponsor, which means us. The grant provides 75% of the funding. The then the local sponsor or the recipient of the improvement is responsible for 25% of that amount. We were approved, the estimate of the project was $290,000, which meant that the old mill could be on the hook for up to $75,000. I guess they've gotten some initial estimates that are significantly lower than that, so they should be able to provide that 25% match. So what we need to do is, the money's been allocated. I need to submit a bunch of paperwork. Then they'll send us a grant agreement. Once we get that grant agreement, then I've talked to Claudine. We should then have Claudine draft an agreement with the Historical Society that yes, they will pay their share.
Yes.
And they're hoping to get this done in April, but because it's federal money, there's obviously bid requirements. So hopefully we can get it done. I have no idea how long these things take, and so the part of this tonight is just to get the approval to appoint me as the project manager, if you will, and contact person and signatory, so that you folks don't need to deal with it other than just saying, yes, you approve going forward with this. Obviously, we will come back with the agreement that we have with the Historical Society saying, you folks need to pay the 25%. And, what may happen in case they don't. But it's looking like it might be less than $100,000, so that's a big difference from.
That's such a big difference. Do you think that, one's a short-term solution and the other one?
No, it's pouring a concrete sill. From my understanding, I haven't seen what they've requested, but I believe they reached out to the individual that did the work when they did the pedestrian bridge.
Oh, okay.
So it should be the same. It's pouring a concrete sill, laying the stacked stone wall.
It's going to have a face like that face.
Yes.
Okay, because that's really important.
Well, and that one section that was done, survived the flood, so.
Right.
It's the
It
one
had
part
just
that
gone
wasn't
a little
fixed.
further.
Yeah.
Right. So that's all we're looking for tonight, is just that. It's basically like I said, the signature of authority letter for me to.
So do we need a motion or just a
Yes.
signature?
Yes, because you've.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And now we have a slew of liquor licenses, second class, first class, and third class.
Yeah, I think you could do them all in.
Could you just distinguish what?
Second class is you buy it, you leave. First class is consumption on site, that is basically just beer and wine. I'm not even sure if it's wine, it's just beer. Third class is liquor, consumption on site.
Oh,
Oh,
I thought, okay.
Yeah, so liquor's separate.
it was on the news tonight that the governor has approved takeout liquor
Oh, interesting.
for bars and grills.
It's going to be like New Orleans.
Exactly, that's all I thought about. But they thought that was one way to help the local economy as well. And of course, the second class licenses would be able to do the same thing, only they have to be obviously not open, where the other ones can sell cocktails and things like that, and actually have them delivered
Yeah.
or takeout.
Wow.
I
And
mean-
people in Essex Junction were wondering if, when they went to El Gato to get their takeout, Mexican if they get a takeout margarita, so I guess they'll be able to now.
They will be able to now, yes.
So should we read these names off into the motion, or no? Just have somebody make a motion?
I will type them all into the minutes.
Okay, so if you're watching this and you want a list of the businesses in town that hold these licenses, if you just look at the minutes
Agenda.
from this meeting or the agenda, you'll see it there. So could we have a motion to approve the liquor licenses of those items presented by Todd, those businesses presented by Todd?
I so move.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now we move on to minutes. And with that, all eyes are turned to Catherine.
Yeah, because you weren't here. So that's the first correction on line 7, Wayne was absent.
You are correct.
And then on line 47, the motion passed 2 to 0.
Right.
And then on lines, oh, I touched my face.
One demerit.
Yeah, one demerit.
Stay back.
I've got a piece of hair that's tickling. Wendy's name is spelled wrong. It's Verrei instead of IE, and then it's Berenback.
Beren, okay.
Because
Got
I
it.
checked my email to make sure. But that's what I have. So I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I mean, I'll just make a comment on the minutes in that until we get a recording secretary, the minutes are gonna be the bare bones of the motions and just a short description that,
Which is all you're required to have.
yes,
Right.
that there was a discussion.
I mean, it's been nice for the public, for those that don't attend, because they really get a sense of the meeting by reading the minutes, but given the situation, it makes eminent sense.
Right. And if
Plus,
anyone-
it doesn't expose another person to coming to this meeting anyway.
And if anyone wants a copy of the recording, we can send it to them, and obviously, these are all archived on MMCTV, so people can get the full meeting if they wish.
So do we have a need for executive session?
No, I just think we can, I think we like, Sabina has worked very hard on the things that she's done. I don't think we need to go in executive session for that.
No. She's not the vet that took over from Barney, is
She's not practicing as a vet.
She's not
my understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, I
she? We do
did.
have a new vet in town.
Yes.
Yes, I saw
think
that
she's
was
quite
on
young.
Front Porch Forum.
Quite
I think
young.
she's quite young.
Very enthusiastic.
Oh,
She's keen.
yeah. So you want to make the motion?
Yes, some of
I'll second.
All those in favor of Sabina Ernst, appointing Sabina Ernst for the planning commission, say aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Any other business?
No,
So-
I guess I'll just say, as you saw, we've now closed the town office to any walk-ins. And it's working well so far. We're helping people by phone, email, etc. The town clerk is making appointments for anyone that needs to do a 40-year title search, because we don't. The clerk doesn't have 40 years worth of land records digitally.
She's going to be available for the rabies thing at the end of March.
Yep, she's
Which is terrific.
She's doing that. Researchers who need to get in the vault are going to schedule an appointment and limit them to 1 or 2 at the very most in the office at the time. And
Highway department,
Highway department is fine so far. Everyone's healthy for the most part. They are. I mean, once they leave work, they go home. They're not the type that are out and about afterward any more than they need to be. But obviously, as you all know, things could change
Right.
daily. Our intent is, for the most part, we can't shut down. We're here.
Right.
We provide essential services, so we're going to do whatever we can to continue to do that. We're fortunate in that we have a small staff in a large building, so we don't have, in a room like this, 12 people in the cubicles.
Right.
The planning, they're upstairs in a room this big, there's 2 of them. In the finance and administrative office, there's 2. I've got my office, so listers are downstairs, the clerk has a large room, so we're able to keep things pretty distant, and we had a pretty good, on Monday about 9 o'clock, we told everyone, we put a sign out the front door that if your tax payment isn't cash, put it in the drop box, don't come in the building. 95% of the people abided by that. People who had cash, we had them bring it in. So that cut down the amount of people coming into the building significantly. We will continue to do that. The related to tax payments, we have about say around 100 people who are delinquent at this point. I've received some pleas from people to waive that due to employment circumstances. By statute and policy, I don't have the ability to waive that. As always, we try to remind people that the due dates, especially the last one, it's a due by date, it's not a due on date, and that people have the ability to make installment payments as time goes on. And even if we could waive it for certain circumstances, it's a really tough thing to apply because you have people who may have decided to not pay a credit card bill or whatever to pay their taxes, and had they known that they had the ability to potentially wait 30 days would have done it, but they didn't. And it's not a position where you want to be judging potentially 100 people of who's worthy of a waiver or not. So it is what it is. I just want to make you aware that I've had 2 people out of the 110 complain. What's interesting is of those people who have complained, those 2, they're habitually late with their payments, so the penalty and interest isn't of surprise to them. They've been in this boat many times before, so they know obviously what the situation is. And I haven't heard of any other towns waiving that penalty. And like I said, you really, by statute, you can't.
On the subject of taxes, it was on the agenda, but we didn't seem to take it up. This business of the road impact thing.
Right.
We're gonna wait,
We're gonna wait.
because people might wanna weigh in on that one for real.
Yeah, I'll tell you what the issue is in short, is that the impact fee study is based on information from 1997. And it's asking you to calculate, especially commercial road impact fees, on information that is the most recent being 2001. So
So this sounds like
we need
a reason to recalculate, not a reason to add to get rid of the ordinance.
Well, I think we need to, in good conscience, I had someone contact me and say, we're looking at buying a commercial lot, and this is what we're going to do. What is the impact fee? So I had to calculate it, and I said, I, in good conscience, can't give you a number, because I just feel these figures are so out of date that...
What's involved is there a formal process for having a study and data?
Yeah, so if you recall, when we have the school impact fee study updated, we have to hire, economist who does these things and looks at, the impact and the cost. And
What'd that cost us in the school case?
I don't recall. I don't remember, a few $1,000s. But basically my recommendation, when we have it as a warrant agenda item, would be to suspend it until we have an updated formula, because I don't...
Suspend it until.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
So if anybody gets in under the wire, they escape paying anything.
I mean, in this...
Are the numbers too high or too low?
I have no idea. That's the problem. I have no idea. It's based on improvements that were planned to be made on a 5-year plan that was made back in 1998. And it's supposed to be...
But we've been charging it all along.
Yes, and then this commercial thing really brought to my attention that I could give them a number, I just don't think it would be fair.
Why?
I don't know which
Because
is
it's
less
based
fair,
on
whether
planned-
to let people
Fair
in.
is another question. The fair is, there are going to be expenditures to the benefit of those folks. And
But it's supposed to be based on what improvements are going to be necessitated by this development. what future improvements are gonna be necessitated.
So we know they're not zero.
Right, but we also don't know that they are what's in the study, so.
Right, but we know, there's one number we know is wrong, 0.
Yeah.
I can't say,
Any
the
positive
school
number.
impact fee, the study said 0. Which
But
is
people
why we
still do road,
eliminated
but other towns still
the
do road
ordinance.
impact fees, I think, because there is a cost associated with.
There is, there of course
The
there is.
But the basis is, what are the planned future expansions or improvements to the road network based on the impact of this development? And that was last looked at 30 years ago.
Of course, we have a whole new plan now for the commercial
Yeah,
district.
I gotta tell you, as you can judge from my tone of voice, I'm disinclined to scrub the whole thing. I do think it's a good idea to undertake a recalculation of it, but that will take a little while, and what happens, we could postpone payment until we have a new number, but to simply scrub it, I'm not comfortable with that.
Because that wouldn't be fair to folks that are,
Yeah, so.
that
somebody
have already
paid
paid for
already.
it.
Well, let's put it on a
and they ditch it
future-
Under the
Yeah.
rug.
Agenda item, that's the issue. That's the issue.
So we're gonna, what's the idea? We return to this at some later date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what
'cause
would that
Claudine-
date be?
Claudine, has a thing, and she felt that the ordinance seems to everything that, is
The
appropriate.
ordinance is, what she says is in order and lawful.
Right, so it's just the numbers.
Just the number. So I have no problem postponing anybody's assessment until we have a number. But I have a problem scrubbing the ordinance altogether.
That's fine. If you're on record saying you want to still collect it, knowing the risk that you could be challenged, it's fine with me. I just.
No, we don't have to collect it.
Well, but just,
We can say we're postponing the collection until we have a found.
Until we
basis.
revised.
the revised number, but the ordinance
But we're
is,
not relinquishing the right to the payment, we're simply postponing.
because, we have the legal opinion that the ordinance seems to everything that the case law and state
Right.
requires to
So
be
it's-
valid.
You want to make
Is this
do you want to make a motion to that?
Yes, I'll make a motion. Then the motion be that the collection of the road impact fee be but the collection be suspended until we have undertaken a study to better calculate what these numbers should be.
And the assessment of that number is also then postponed.
Yes. But we're
Not just the
but-
payment, but the assessment of it
The
as well.
assessment, but it will be assessed
Okay.
at whatever the new number is. Some people might say.
Well,
hey,
that-
I'll
that's
take-
what
I'll take
Todd's
my
looking
chances
for,
now.
right? Is just
Let's
some
say
clarity
this.
on that
I'll say,
issue.
I'll take, it's suspended at the request of somebody who's due pay. But somebody might say, hey, I'll take my chances with the numbers now. Let them do that.
Oh, that's,
It might. It might even be a smart thing to do. If the number was first done 23 years ago, so I would give somebody the opportunity, the choice to do either one. Either they can pay or they can hold off to see what the new numbers are from a proper study. Can you write that up, or do you want me to?
I got it.
You have a second?
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So do we have any other business?
What you were talking about, doing remote video for the meetings, I mean, I would recommend not doing it.
No, it's fluid, but my recommendation, or what I'm looking at, is that we would just do audio conference, because, trying to keep minutes and run a meeting and worry about video is not something I want
Or even a Twitter feed that people are, yeah.
to do. But if we set up basically a group conference call, and whoever in the public wants to join the call can join the call, and all you need is a telephone to do so.
Fine.
Yeah.
And then that way, you know, some of you out, you know, Catherine out in the hinterlands, you don't have to worry about an internet connection. You just need to know you have a phone line.
Because you just got a refrigerator last week out there.
It's a kerosene one.
That's right.
And anyone in the public who might not have, you know, broadband or whatever, they can just call.
Well, and that's the real problem with, you know, going video digital, is because a lot of people may not have a high-speed internet or access to a computer, so that it becomes discriminatory.
Right.
That's why it was brought up at last night's RPC meeting that there had to be public in the building at the meeting, you know, two members of the RPC were there just in case the public did come in to the meeting. And the rest of us were on an assortment of things that worked or didn't work.
Right.
That's also the problem.
Yeah, we hired, about a year ago, we hired this young guy, he's terrific, to be our chief operating officer. And he had a fairly lofty position in this holding company that owns about 5 hotels in the Burlington area. And he, you know, now he works in the telecom business. And I said, Brian, aren't you glad you're not in the hospitality business anymore? He said, oh, tell me about it.
Yeah. I know. It's just going to be devastating, I think, for quite a while.
Devastating.
So
I think the only thing we need
the news?
I just wanted to report on something that he'd asked. I'm having trouble getting anybody to come and look at that tower. I had 2 people who said they would, and they just didn't turn up. And I'm still considering it. I have private opinions from people who are not mugs looking at it, that it's fine. But this isn't a professional opinion from a structural engineer. At some point, we're going to have to, if I can't find anybody to come, a proper engineer, we're going to have to make a decision of whether we want to take a chance that it's not sound.
Mhm.
And we might, you know, 5 years from now, have to pay to take it down and take it away. Or take a chance on it. I have had a number of opinions that, ooh, that's a valuable thing. Somebody's going to want that, and you might make quite a bit of money on it. But
And a couple informal opinions that it looks sound
Yeah.
at this point.
Now, does it require a specialized structural engineer or just any old structural engineer?
maybe any old one. What I've been looking at is there's a company in town, Radio North, that the guy said he would come, and he's experienced because he puts his, you know, they hire, they rent space on towers, and he has to assess the tower. And there's a company down in he said he would come, and he didn't. And then there's a company down in Rutland that specializes in communications towers and works on them all over the Northeast. But they apparently have just recently gone out of business because the
Oh, dear.
phone doesn't answer. And so that's 2. There's several people who are familiar with who are in the business and familiar with the tower they've seen it, they think it's just fine, but.
I mean, there's always a chance if it's not stable, someone will take it down for scrap and not charge anything. I mean,
But it's possible.
That's true.
That's possible.
There's scrap value there.
we could also always just hook it up to one of the tandems and
Pull it over.
yank it down and.
Have a bonfire that night?
Well, that's right.
That could be a community event.
I don't think the risk that we're gonna be stuck with something, the only risk I can think of that might be worth considering is liability. If it was clearly unsafe and, you know.
An impending disaster that was going to
Well,
cost
the
us a
kids,
lot.
there's no protection, so kids
No,
will
no,
climb it and fall off.
it's fenced.
It's fenced, I know. I said, one could imagine a situation in which it was not fenced.
Oh, gotcha.
The
Yeah,
kid
not
can
fenced,
fly, climb up.
Yeah.
Kids can climb over fences too.
Yes, but
And that.
This is looking more like, you know, we don't have a formal opinion, but it's looking more like it's worth, where we are is in a good spot. We probably don't need to point the finger and say, you're gonna take care of this thing before you pack up your tent
Probably
in
don't.
town. So maybe this is
Probably-
good. It's not quite due diligence, but it's pretty darn close to that, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, a good faith effort has been made,
Yeah,
and it isn't over yet. But
well, that's the best we can do for
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
the informal opinions did not think there was any question about it being sufficiently sound to stand up for a long time and to carry equipment.
And of course, if anyone wants to put any equipment on it, they're gonna make that assumption, because they're not gonna make the investment on something that's gonna
That's right.
fall down.
Well, anybody who's gonna put the equipment up does have an engineer who makes sure. that-
Yes, exactly.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
they'll do their own.
You're
So
right.
leave it on
The
them.
problem is whether we might, that's not the question. I mean, if we find out, 3 or 4 people come along and say, I'm not going up there, then we have another, the risk is that we might have to pull it down and get rid
Right.
of it.
But it sounds like, because of their scrap value, that we wouldn't have to.
We might not even have to pay, especially if we pull it over.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we are done at 7:42.
Now
Oh
we've
my
got
God.
a bunch of liquor licenses to sign, and